Hey everyone, welcome to the Influencer Marketing Best Practices virtual event. Before we get started, I just wanted to briefly introduce myself. My name is Brianna Jacobs. I'm the organizer of the Social Media Strategy Summit. So we organize 2 to 3 day conferences around the country. We bring in leading brands to share how they're tackling and seeing success across different facets of social media. So we cover topics in brand awareness, content creation, paid media, ROI, and ultimately driving revenue for your business via social channels. So this is our second event as part of our virtual event series. And just because influencer marketing has been such a hot topic, and we hear tons of feedback from our attendees wanting to hear more about influencer marketing. So today we brought together two awesome speakers who are going to share about how their companies are approaching and seeing success with influencer marketing. So we're going to have two 20-minute presentations. So we encourage you during the presentation to submit questions, and we'll be taking questions after the presentations as well. If you want to be active during the event on Twitter, our hashtag is SMS Summit. So you can see it on the screen here on the slide there. And we'll be following that activity too. And this whole recording will be available for you guys after the event is over. So you can share this with your teammates or revisit any part of the presentation. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with our first presentation. We have Amisha Gandhi, who is the head of influencer marketing at SAP. She's an international marketing and communication professional with experience in technology and media entertainment companies from startups to large enterprise. So she's going to be sharing the SAP influencer marketing story today. So I'll hand it off to Amisha.
Great, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. And so today I thought what we'd walk you through a case study, but before we launch into this, I just want to introduce our influencer marketing program at SAP. So at SAP, we look at influencer marketing, and this program, it's a global program, and we started about 2 years ago now, and our approach is truly a marketing function. So I know there is influencer relations, which sits in a lot of companies in the PR function. This is influencer marketing, so we actually sit in global marketing. And the reason why I say that is when we look at influencers, we look at external third-party influencers outside of our regular, traditional analyst and PR function, and we're really looking at those folks that are thought leaders, academic, authors, people speaking on stage, people doing really great research in the trends and topics that we are covering in technology. So we look at those folks, we look at how we could work with them to create not just awareness programs to get the word out, but really to create and also reach our buying audience. So we look at doing programs that have lead gen, demand gen, and nurture parts of the marketing funnel. We try to hit that in the sales funnel. So we're really trying to find a really unique and personal way to reach our buyers with authenticity. So that's a little background about the program. And then SAP is one of the largest enterprise IT technology companies in the world. We have about 82,000 employees worldwide. We run a lot of the world's GDP runs on SAP software, anything from HR to financials, to supply chain. So, and we cover lots of topics like IoT, machine learning. So it's very exciting. We had a opportunity we bring our influencers to our annual conference every year to kind of get them enmeshed into SAP, for them to learn what we're doing, for us to get feedback from them, but also for them to be introduced to all our different teams, and we can help set up the relationships so they can set up programs for the rest of the year. So coming off of our annual conference this year at Sapphire, we announced a new digital innovation system called Leonardo. So there was going to be a special customer event in Frankfurt, Germany on July 11th and 12th. And we decided to, and you can see on this slide, to kind of have an integrated strategy to our influencer marketing. We want to see what we could do to bring influencers to this customer event. Not just attend, but be speakers, because the 5 individuals we chose are also very well known in the areas of IoT, machine learning, analytics, big data. And so we brought them together at this show. The 5 different influencers had breakout sessions, so they were going to be speaking at the event, and the customers know that they're coming. So that provides a really great third-party hook for customers to actually come and attend the event. Our influencers helped us promote the event before the actual show. And then at the show, we had some really great on-site activities. So going into the show, really thinking about, how do we get people excited, and how do we reach people that are not at the event, because the event only had 1,500 people there. So it was a small event in Germany. How do we expand that and extend that to other customers, to other people that are interested in these innovative technology topics? So one way we did that was to have some Facebook Live interviews with our influencers interviewing customers. So that provides a really great third-party view from our customers and also from the influencers. The influencers are able to set up the topic, and our customers are really able to tell their innovation story. And it doesn't get down to the product level, but again, it's to start that conversation with that issue, trend, or topic. And so that's one thing we did was on our brand page was to have a Facebook Live, and our influencers. Also, our influencers had access to our crew and were able to stream on their own channels with a high def feeling, so they didn't have shaky cam, so that they appreciated that as well. And they actually interviewed each other, and they interviewed our customers, and it was a really great, we got a lot of views. So for a small event like that, we had about, and from Germany, we had about 25,000 to 30,000 views, live views, just from our channel. And then it was greatly amplified by our influencers, and those views are continuing to go up because they're sitting on our channel and they've been amplified by influencers. So that's one thing we did to extend the event. Then with those same videos, we were able to take those videos and edit them after the fact and have really great sizzle reels for all of our sales teams. Are able to take that now, interviews with customers and interviews with the influencers amongst themselves. So that provides another asset that I can bring back to the global marketing team and the regions that they can use. And then thirdly, something that we did, which was new and different, we launched an asset at the event. So knowing that we had all these innovation topics there, we had these really great 5 influencers on site. We launched an ebook. It was an interactive ebook with moving graphics and quotes around those different innovative topics from 32 influencers in the industry. And so we were able to launch it at this event. So we also had a lot of those other influencers amplifying content, really, really great thought leadership content at the event. So we had an asset going to the event. We had an extension of the event through the videos and some blogs that are coming out after the event. And then we're able to provide assets to our sales and field marketing teams through the ebook and also through the videos. And the ebook, each quote also has a social media card. So there's a longer version of the quote and then a nice click to tweet quote. So we had 32 social media cards that we were able to put out on our social media channels and bring people back in. Our sales teams would be able to use those quote cards, and we were able to use those quote cards around the event, scrolling through so people could see the great thought leadership there. So that's the event and what we did. And then if we go to the next slide, we can see some of the great results that we were able to achieve with the influencers. And I think we're going ahead, but let's see, let me find the right slide. So I mentioned some of the post-event activities that are happening now. So we have the blog video. We also have an internal influencer at SAP, Tom Rayfordy, and he did a podcast on site with customers and the influencers, which will trickle out over the next couple of weeks. And then we also decided to do a webcast series with 3 of our influencers who are launching a new series called Fast Forward, and we will be doing that after, and that also has lead gen. So as you can see, we have many different things that we did at the event that we're able to maximize after the event. And then these are some of the live streams that we actually did from the event. And then here are some of the highlights that we had. So we had a huge amount of impressions from those 5 influencers. So this is the first, what we did with our 5 influencers, and this is the kind of reaction we got to our ebook. And then these are the on-site influencer results. So these are impressive in the fact that not only will we have so many impressions, but we also had a lot of engagement. So the share of influence is really high, and then over time you can see during the day when it's really high, when they're being re-amplified. So this only, we have a tool called Tracker that we use, and so what this tool does is allow us to see what our influencers drove. So this doesn't include any numbers from any of the retweets or any of the reach that we get from the people that may be retweeting our influencers' tweets. This is purely the influencers' numbers. And so you can see that we have high share of voice and high influence during the event. And then just to put this in perspective, when you look at the event as a whole, and this goes back to all of our influencers, which would be in our program, so this includes some of the people that were amplifying the book, you can see we have a lot of mentions and a lot of engagement, and we were then able to go back to the teams and say, these are the topic areas that drove the most social with our influencer set. And then just so you know, we did an impact report for our board, and as you can see, what happened is with only 5 influencers in Germany, we were a trending topic in Germany for the 2 days that the event was going on, and it represented overall 5 influencers. So think about the 5 people with the right amount of influence drove 50 to 52% of all the social media traffic for this one event for us, which is pretty big if you think about it. And you know, you have 1,500 people on site. Maybe not everyone is social. You have our brand channels, but for these 5 individuals to do that is pretty incredible, and it really shows to folks the power of influence, the power of their social media impact. It shows the power of the marketing asset that we're releasing. It also, you know, we have a lot of interest from customers we saw on site, and also from the assets that we made from the videos, that they like seeing those things because it's really, they're getting a great third-party view on a topic that they're thinking about, and then they're getting that expertise from the influencers, and then we're highlighting, you know, ourselves through the voice of our customers. So it's a really great win-win, and can set up a lot of success and influence, you know, help us influence the buying decisions. So you can see on this slide some more of the results, some of the tweets we had from the influencers at the event. And then again, this is at the event that you can see, and with the customers. So it gives you a good idea. We had UPS doing 3D printing. We had Delaware Consulting talking about machine learning. So there's a lot of really interesting topics that people would be interested in, but then it's paired with this influence, and it really results in success. So that's our impact of the influencers at the show. And then this is the impact of the influencers that didn't come to the show, but our entire community. Because when we start setting up programs, we have a community, and we let them know what things are coming out. We had the influencer ebook, so a lot of the folks there were helping to amplify the event, and they weren't even at the event. And then these are 2 examples of folks doing that. So as you can see, there's a lot of impact that you can have on-site and off-site with influencers and customers, and your internal influencers as well. So that's the route to success, is combining the different types of influencers with your customers, extending event, and creating some really great marketing assets that can help in your sales cycle. So with that, I'm going to turn it over for some questions.
It looks like we have one question here from Becky. It's, how do you pick and engage your influencers?
That's a great question. So, we believe in search. So, but we also believe in, that is one of the biggest, and that's a great question, because the biggest key to success is actually finding the right influencer for your program, and that they want to be engaged. So when you're thinking about looking for influencers, I mean, we have a tool called Tracker. Some people use Sprinkler for listening, and they combine that. If you're a startup and you don't have access to tools like that, there's always Google search. There's always a top 10 list of anything, list of top 10 or top 100 influencers in different variety of categories, you can do some research. So between the research, using a tool like Tracker, so Tracker lets me see who has high engagement in a specific topic or area, if they have resonance, which means are they getting engagement, and and then there's other tools that you can look at to make sure people, some people have 1 million followers or 500,000 followers or 250,000 followers. How many of those are fake or not? So a tool like Tracker can help you sift through that, because then you can actually see this person has a high following, they have good resonance, and people are engaging with them. Okay, so they have the audience that they want, and then we can look at audience demographics to make sure that the right audience is following that influencer. So once you do all your research, then you want to reach out to the influencer and just simply ask, how do you, we're so-and-so, we have an influencer program, we would like to see how you engage with companies. And then you have that conversation, because your conversation is really building a relationship, right? You don't want to make it transactional. So then you use that conversation to build a relationship. You can state what your objectives are. They can state, this is how we work with companies. And if it's a really good influencer, it's not going to be transactional at all. It's going to be more, how can we make something work together? Because it is really a two-way relationship that will develop over time, and you want to have a long-term, relationship. I had another colleague of mine in a different company. She always says, it starts with a handshake and ends with a hug. You will build a great relationship over time, and over time you'll realize, you'll get a good core group of influencers because they care and you care to invest as well, and it's not just financial. So that's something to keep in mind as well, is that working with influencers doesn't always have to be paid. It's unpaid and paid, so you have to think about what work you're asking them to do. But that's really the best way to go about trying to find the right influencer and engaging with them.
Great. And our next question is from Kurt Zimmer. Do you have any recommendations for low or zero cost influencer marketing? I'm assuming this can be kind of across tools or outreach, or just any recommendation.
Yeah, so if you have, if you don't have big budgets, so when I started this program, I didn't have, big budgets or anything like that. So what you can do is certainly, do the search that I talked about, try to find some influencers, and they all hang around at the same watering holes around a specific topic area. You'll start seeing things bubble up. You can do a search in Twitter, do a search in Google, do a search, in several different places. Try to find lists. See other companies that are doing in the same space, doing programs. See who they're engaging with. Then start having some conversations, and you can say, I'm really looking to engage with you. How do you engage? You figure it out. You could do an asset like the book that I did. We got quotes from influencers. We interviewed them, and we took the quotes. So we were picking their brain just in getting a quote from influencers, but we didn't pay anybody for those quotes. I paid the agency to create the design work, but we didn't really pay the influencers for that. If you do a white paper, or if you do a long form article that's going to involve a lot of work, then yes, you should, pay your influencers. But, influencers tend to be a lot more reasonable than Gartner and Forrester and a lot of the traditional folks that we see. So if you're working with an influencer, you can look at micro influencers as well, and these folks have a little bit less of a following, but a highly engaged audience, and they're also looking to get out there as well. So you can come up with partnerships that are reasonable both for you and the influencer. So I don't think that influencer marketing, you have to have $1 million budgets. You just have to build the right relationships and create something together of value that's of value to them and to you. And the value is never going to be to an influencer like, oh, I get to work with your company. The value is more, intrinsic or business or awareness or something, and you can figure that out together.
Great. So our next question is from Sarah Enlow. What kind of guidelines or rules do you provide to influencers that you work with in relation to campaigns and programs?
So this is a really good question too, because a lot of my influencers come back, and one of the biggest complaints that influencers have around brands and influencer marketing is, if we choose to engage with you, we're engaging. If we come to your event, we're there. We will do what we think is right for our audience. You can't really stronghold people into doing things. If you do that, it's uncomfortable for you. It's really uncomfortable for them. So when you're talking to them about your campaign or your event or what have you, you can kind of lay out, like at Sapphire, I said, oh, we're doing some live videos. We have some meetings with these kinds of folks in your area. These are the activities we have. What would you, like to do? What would you like to participate in? We may do a live tweet chat. Is it something you'd like to do or not? I had most of my influencers, yes, sign me up for all of it. I'm there. If I come to your event, I'm there, 100%. And some people said, well, I'm not really comfortable, doing the live tweet, or I'm not really comfortable doing any live video. However, I would love to have that same meeting, and I would rather write a blog post. So you have to, have that conversation up front so the expectations are set. I mean, for example, we had a team do a nonprofit thing with an influencer, and the expectations were not set in the beginning. And so later on, the influencer came back and said, well, I thought I was going to get this, but I only got this. And so for me, I have to think about the experience was worth it or not. So we had to go back and talk to that influencer and say, hey, our bad. We didn't set it up the right way for you. We thought we had clearly communicating what our expectations were. We didn't. Sorry for that. How can we work with you again and kind of figure out a good, net positive for both of us. So, if you're really clear in the beginning, you can't say things like, oh, if you come, you need to tweet, that's like really not, if they did that, then they wouldn't be a good influencer, right? They are going to bring the things that their audience is interested in. So you can even ask them, hey, we have all these great things happening. Out of these things, what is going to be most interesting for you and your audience? And that's how you build it. And if you kind of have them along as you're building your campaign, then you're going to get the best value, because they'll give you really great ideas too to make your campaign much better than where it was.
Well, great. I mean, yeah, those are the questions that were submitted. So, Amisha, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure we can tweet to you afterwards if we have any other questions after the event is over. But thanks again for the presentation.
Thanks, my pleasure.
So we're going to go ahead and just jump right into our next presentation if we're ready to go. We have Chris Rudolph. He is the Business Accelerator Program Director for American Family Insurance. And that was it's a free online program, and Chris will tell you more once he starts his presentation, but it's a free online program aimed at providing small business owners with valuable training, coaching, and exclusive content. And so today he's going to discuss with you guys the impact that influencer marketing had on Business Accelerator's growth and success. So Chris, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brianna. I really appreciate it. All right. All right, so I'm going to share how influencers build American Family Insurance's small business content marketing platform. And for those of you that don't know, my name is Chris Rudolph, and I lead the, like Brianna said, I lead the Business Accelerator program with American Family Insurance. Surprisingly, I'm not an insurance guy. So I'm actually, pretty much all of my career, I've been a small business owner and entrepreneur. So I'm really used to being in the trenches as far as, wearing all the different hats within a business. So I am based in Madison, Wisconsin, and in addition to working with AmFam, I also am a husband and dad to these four amazing people on the right-hand side of your picture here. So being in the Midwest, we love to escape winters by traveling, anywhere warm and tropical that has a beach and a pool. So that's a little bit about me. I'm curious about you that are tuning in today. Be sure to type in your location. I want to hear where people are tuning in from. So you can do that in the chat box right now. All right, I see Eva from Madison. We got Eric from Chicago. Evie from New Mexico. Awesome, all over the country here. Welcome Pam from Ohio. Got Katie from Iowa. So lots of different places represented, which is super cool. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick preview of today's session. I'm going to go into what influencer marketing is. I'm going to take you under the hood of our Business Accelerator program, kind of share our successes, but also our challenges. I'm going to be really open and raw with those challenges. Some tips for you to grow, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end. All right, so Business Accelerator, what is it? So it's a free online toolkit to help small business owners grow their businesses. So it includes several things. So this is a little snapshot of our website. We do live webcasts and videos in areas like sales, marketing, leadership, or finance. These are a couple examples of some recent events that we've had. So we've had Microsoft's lead storyteller, Mary Rodriguez, and she's talked about how to tell your brand story. We also recently had George B. Thomas from the Sales Line talking about branding. So these are key influencers for our program that we bring in as speakers. Secondly, we have blog articles. So we produce 4 blog articles in each of those 4 areas that I mentioned before. And those are right there. What's unique about our program is it's completely free. You do not have to be an insurance customer at all. It's available 24/7 on demand and is 100% pitch free, so we don't actually talk to you about insurance. So you can check it out. If you want to get a little preview, it's at amfambusinessaccelerator.com. Why does American Family provide this type of resource? Mainly it's due to the know, like, and trust factor in the buying process and how powerful that is. If you're not familiar with that, humans are much more likely to buy something that from a brand that they know, like, and trust. And here's just a quick example of why that's true. So let's say you are, it's a 100-degree day. For some of you, it might even be warmer than that today. Let's say it's a 100-degree day and your air conditioner breaks. Who are you going to contact? You know, what will be your process for choosing that person or company? Will you ask a friend? Will you post it on social? Will you go to Google and search it? Will you look at reviews? You may even go to YouTube and look at how to fix that problem. So as you're evaluating all your options, pretty much what I think would really dictate your decision is who do you know, after that process of research, who do you know and who do you like the most and who do you trust the most? That's who you're going to contact first. So that's kind of the premise of the program. So we have 3 goals for our program. So one is to help agents build trust with their prospects. So we want to give our agents a pitch-free way to start building, trust with prospects, and something that, as they're following up after they meet them, where they don't just, every touch base they're asking, hey, do you want to buy insurance? And just, banging their prospect over the head with asking for insurance. It's another way to really start to build trust. Secondly is to build trust with site visitors. So if people come to the site via social or a referral or even through search, they won't I guess even before they start to look for insurance or buy insurance, you're going to build that trust. And then number 3 is to help our current customers who have commercial policies grow bigger and more stable. So that means more revenue and decreased overall turnover. So I want to share a little bit about my interaction with influencer marketing. How did I really stumble upon it? So have you ever been in the business trenches and out of pure necessity you figured something out and then afterwards you realize it's like a thing? Well, yeah, that was me, and I call it like rear view mirror learning. So that's really how I stumbled upon influencer marketing. I learned it first from marketing free in-person small business events at the Dream Bank in Madison. It's a space that American Family Insurance puts on. So when we got started, we had no email list, a very limited budget, and a very limited staff. So our big challenge was, how are we going to get people in the seats? Which if you haven't done in-person marketing for events, it's very, very difficult to do. So we put our heads together and wondered, what if we invited everyone we knew to this event, but we also invited our speaker to do the same? So instead of having one network, we suddenly had 2. So we did that, and we got a little bit of traction. Then at next week's event, we invite our network. The next speaker invites people to the event, and then we still have the people from the original event the previous week. So now we have 3 networks. So we started to do this every week. So we had an event every single Tuesday, and we asked our speakers to invite their audience to the event in addition to our promotion. So guess what happened? So it worked. Not dramatically overnight, but we picked up momentum every single week. And I believe that's what content marketing experts call the whale. I think that's the term that they use. So we began to ask the question, what if we could apply this to streaming events and blog posts within the Business Accelerator program? So this is just an example of what influencer marketing can be in this context. So what is it exactly? It is, instead of going directly to a large group of consumers with your brand message, which would be like traditional advertising, you instead inspire, hire, or pay key influencers to share your brand's message with their community. And why do we use influencer marketing? A couple of reasons why. When you think of return on investment in marketing, there's 2 factors that I believe that you have to look at. One is attention, which you get with traditional advertising, but the second piece is action, and that's where influencers come in. I've seen the stats where 82% of customers follow recommendations made by an influencer. So we not only want attention, but we want action, and influencers are a key piece to that. I think a reason that's so powerful is that people don't buy things just to buy things, they want to join things. You want to really embrace an influencer's community to really drive that ROI. All right, so why did we get started with influencer marketing within Business Accelerator? We were in a tough spot when we got started. We had a big promise to deliver on. So our program was leaderless and on life support for about a year and a half prior to when I got started in the program. We had a limited budget. There's no call to action or no pitch within the program, so it was difficult to justify a lot of spending by the company for this program. We also had no active social media accounts, and organic reach was declining significantly at the time, and certainly that hasn't gotten any better since that. We had an outdated website, completely member-gated, that was very difficult to use. We did have a small but loyal email list and a really good agency partner, but that was about it. So I want to share a little bit about how influencer marketing has helped our program grow over the last 18 months. So here's just some stats that we've seen in the last 18 months. So when we run webcasts, our RSVPs are up over 50%. Our email list is up 12%. Facebook followers, 25%. We just started Twitter in January. I know, late adopters, but have got that up to just over 900. What's really interesting is YouTube views. So when we have our live webcasts, we archive them as evergreen content on YouTube. Well, our views are up 10x since January. So we're just starting to see that large effect of influencer marketing, and it's really, really powerful. So it sounds really, really good, this influencer marketing stuff. Why isn't everybody doing it? Number one, it's not easy. It takes hard work. Number two, it takes time. It's not a quick fix. Number three, it requires human skills like networking and selling. You can't just write a check and expect to get automatic return from influencer relationships. And number four, getting influencers on board with your company is a lot like raising venture capital, if you're familiar with that world. So it's very difficult. It sometimes can be difficult getting that first influencer on board, but once you get a couple on board, you really the sales pitch is a lot easier because chances are you might work off of that influencer's network, and somebody knows and trusts them, and they start to trust you more to be an influencer for you. So it's definitely not been a quick fix or magic pill, but here are some of the challenges we've faced along the way. So number one, we're in a really highly regulated industry, financial services. those of you that might be in those type of that field know exactly what I'm talking about. It gives us limited content creativity because nearly everything we produce has to go through corporate legal. We have a very strong brand built on the theme of dreams and a really good brand team. But when you look at our corporate headquarters, a majority of the rest of the company has a risk management mindset. And I'm not slamming that type of mindset at all. It serves an insurance company really, really well in underwriting risk and making investments, but it's not the ideal fit for content marketing. Lately, we've seen a good amount of RCPs to our live webcast, but we've seen a lower percentage showing up than usual. And that's probably due to increased volume and competition in the online video space. So we've had to do some things along the way to help remedy that. So we've started giving away gift cards so that people had to be, you had to be present to win. We've also recruited our presenters to, donate like different tools and books and different things that they could give away. And it's worked fairly well. It's still a big challenge. Another challenge is having presenters that we hire to present, and we want to get this influencer effect going, but they don't have a very large network or the right network for us, or they're kind of shy or lazy about promoting. So one thing that's worked well for us is just sending out weekly update emails and giving them example social media posts and promo video examples so that you just make it easy for them to really promote you. So I'm going to go through the 3 types of influencers to look at. So one is partnering with internal influencers, and this was covered in the earlier session. But that's really looking within your organization for people that can be those internal champions for your brand. So for us, we looked at 2 areas. Agents, so we've got, I believe, over 3,500 agents around the country. And then we also tapped into our corporate advocacy social media program. So for agents, one thing we did is we worked with a really great social media person internally, Josh Bayan, and he prepared our content, like our blog posts and our videos and our webcasts, into a social media sharing tool that our agents can easily access. Our agents are business owners. They wear a lot of hats. They're very busy, so we just want to make it easy for them to be able to share out our content, add value to their audience, and in turn they help us. We also, I think about 18 months ago, we have some folks in our social media and communications area developing a really great corporate social media advocacy program. So they share out our content as well. So it's been really key for our program. So the second type of influencer is to partner with an agency, and preferably one with a strong network of influencers and contacts. So we did that. We've partnered with Forward Progress out of Chicago, and they've been just amazing. They have a really strong network of influencers that they can tap into, in addition to they help produce and market our events. But that's allowed us to really get some momentum going in this influencer realm because they already have the contacts, they know how to do it, and it's been super helpful. And then the third is to partner with external influencers. An example of this would be on this screen in front of you is we have Neil Schaefer coming in September, and he's a top social media speaker. I believe he's a speaker for Social Media Strategy Summit. And he's going to speak and add value to our audience, but he's also going to invite his audience as well. So that's just a quick example. So I have a question for you. So which of the 3 types of influencers, internal, agency, or external, sound like the best place for you to get started with influencer marketing? I'd like you to type that in the chat box. I want to see, what's the best place for you to get started with. All right, I'm seeing Shauna says internal. Seeing quite a few externals. All right. Jenny's looking at internals. Margaret's looking at agency. So good variety. Awesome. Great to hear from you here. So I want to, now that you know what type of influencers are out there, I want to give you 6 keys to spotting a good influencer. So number 1 is high trust. So does the influencer, the potential influencer, do they inspire others to follow them? Do they have a following? And do their followers take their recommendations? That's a really key part. It's not just attention, but it's action. Number 2 is the size of their audience. Now, you can have an influencer with a really engaged following, but if the size of their network isn't big enough, it's not really going to make the impact that you really wanted. On the flip side, you also want an influencer that has a decent or a large-sized network, but has a high level of engagement and quality of relationship. Number 3, are their followers your target audience? So when you're evaluating that influencer, do their followers meet your target audience? Number 4, do they provide value to your audience? Number 5, are they already fans of you? I think the big key, and I think this was touched on by Amisha as well, influencer marketing works best when it's really authentic and it's not just somebody who's hired to talk about your brand, but they really believe in your brand. I would encourage you to look for people who are already fans of your brand, because it's just going to come off so much more authentic and natural, and that's even prior to having a formal agreement or you paying them. And the final key is that they carry your values. You got to remember that your influencer, their tribe and their followers are probably, they carry similar values to that influencer, and like attracts like. So you want to be very careful that your influencer that you're looking at really carries your values. So now that you've identified your influencer, how do you approach them? That's what we're going to cover next. So I'm going to give you 5 steps to approaching an influencer. And this might seem kind of elementary, but I get so many questions around, like, how do you actually, talk to or message people to become an influencer? So I'll just share a method that I use. There's probably a lot of different ways, but this is something that's been really effective for me. So first step is you want to get their contact info. For me, that's typically like an email or a connection on social media that I can message them. So what actually goes into that message? Number 2, you want to introduce yourself and say, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I admire about you. And so praise them. Now, don't just flatter them for the sake of flattery. You want to be honest. You want to do your homework and be sure that it's an accurate picture of how you feel about them. I'm assuming if you're looking at them as an influencer, there's something that you admire about them. So just be authentic. So number 3, share the opportunity. So this is basically, you can say, this is what I got. So you share the opportunity in specifics, in many specifics as you can. So for me, if I'm hiring a speaker, I'm giving them an example of the event, the date, the time, the speaker fee. You want to get it specific and not make it vague. Number 4 is what's in it for me. You actually will flip that and think of it from their perspective. So what's in it for them? You'll basically say, this is what this relationship will do for you. So you're asking them to contribute to your brand, but what can you also offer them? So I a lot of times include metrics on our community, our demographics, and try to make it, to show that there could be a win-win there. I also look at kind of share out future opportunities that this relationship, this start could lead to. And the 5th is just to simply invite them, basically ask them, would you like to do this? So this is kind of the framework for a message that you could send out. I highly recommend to use the KISS method. Keep it short and simple, and not make this a big form letter or something that is, just a mini book. You want to keep it there. I'll even throw in another bonus tip to grow your influencer marketing. That is to build your list, meaning email list always. So if you're doing events, if you're doing blog posts, or you have influencers tweeting live events, find ways to get people on your email list. I think that is a way that you can stay in contact and continue to grow your program exponentially. So I have a question for you now. So I want you to grab a pen and a paper, or if you've got Post-it notes near you. What 3 influencers could you reach out to this week that could grow your influencer marketing? What are those 3 influencers that come to mind that you could reach out to this week? I want you to write those down in front of you. All right. So next I'm going to cover how to measure success of your program. So I'll just give some examples of 5 areas that we track for our program. Now this will probably be unique to every single brand and depending on the industry that you have. So we look at things like email stats, like subscribers, social media followers, YouTube views, RSVPs at attendance. Probably the 2 we look at the closest are our email subscribers and attendance of RSVPs. Those are like the two metrics that we really look at the most. So my question for you is, what 2 success metrics will you track to determine the success of your effort? I'd like you to type those in the chat box. I want to see what are your success metrics. You also want to think on this. What are the success metrics that those that are above you that are advocating for your program or that you report to are going to be looking at as well? All right, so I'm seeing social media engagement from Sarah. I'm seeing engagement from Margaret. Yeah, what success metrics will you track to determine success of your efforts? All right. What questions can I answer? Be sure to type them in the box, and I'll do my best to answer them. What questions do you have around influencer marketing, or if there's anything that I shared today that that you're curious about?
Chris, we have one question. What is working best on social media right now for you guys?
Yeah, one thing from a event promotion standpoint is teaming up with our influencers to have them create promotional videos that are just from their iPhone, kind of previewing the event. So it's very like organic, raw material from them, and sharing that on social, specifically like Facebook has worked really well. It allows not only our audience to get to know them, but it also is an invitation for their audience to really engage with our brand as well. Also, like we post our hour-long events afterwards on YouTube. But recently we've kind of edited out little small snackable chunks, maybe 2 to 4 minute videos, and that's been more popular. I think people, people are pretty busy and move pretty quickly throughout their day. So those kind of bite-sized chunks of video content. In the last year, we've also made a move to make our blog post a lot shorter and more snackable, and I think that's really led to engagement as well. Great question.
It looks like we have some additional questions here from Sarah Enlow. Do you have influencers sign contracts when you work with them? If so, what's important to include?
Yes, great question, Sarah. So being an insurance company, you can definitely, insurance people love contracts and a lot of fine print. And a lot of our contracts are around, it has things around speaker fee, but we also include some simple metrics for engagement that they're going to invite their audience. More of like the specific engagement pieces I tend to cover in an initial 30-minute call with them. There's things like how you're going to pay them, travel expenses, releases of their content, so permission that we can use their content on all of our channels. Those are, I think, the main key parts of our contract.
Okay, we have another question from Jess Velasquez. Are there any email or social media tactics to gain or engage with influencers?
Social media-wise, I would say this has worked. This seems very grassroots, but the influencers that we do have, we engage with them on social, and a lot of times they're friends and other people in the industry. Let's say a lot of our speakers are pretty well-known social media presenters. So who do they hang around with? Other social media experts. So start engaging them just on their posts, and whether that's on any of their channels, and you start to people become familiar with your name, and then start following them. I know as I've been scouting out influencers, I've on Facebook, I'll have their posts show up first. I'll hit that notification, so I start to track them and just see how see about what type of content that they produce, what kind of engagement do they receive. You start to see when they recommend things. Does their audience really take their recommendations? Do they have raving fans? Those are some things that I've done. I've actually, some of the network has been offline, just going to higher level conferences and just meeting people face to face. I've even set up little social events at conferences where I'll invite people that I do know but have them bring a friend, and that's been a great way to expand the influencer network organically.
Great. So another question from Miranda Ward. What form does your influencer content take? Videos or blogs, maybe?
Videos for sure, and then we have recently, probably in the last 6 months or so, we started integrating our speakers who would be in videos and interview them in blog posts. So a lot of times we'll, let's say for instance, George B. Thomas spoke for us on branding in May. We'll do an upcoming blog post in November around that topic, and then kind of get his take, have his headshot on the kind of the blog header, and then we'll have links to a small snippet of video or the long form video. So we'll kind of piggyback that content within a blog post. We've also used several kind of Q&A, so they'd be blog versions of interviews. That's worked really well.
Okay, and here's a question from Jimmy Zawiski. Do you know of or use any lists to find influencers, joint venture people who have a lot of followers?
Oh, we haven't I guess used consultants to give us lists of influencers, but we definitely vet influencers, almost like we do our internal social network grading. So we'll kind of look at how many followers do they have on various channels, what's their engagement like, kind of give them a score of what their network is like.
Okay, and we have one more question from Danielle Schulzberend. Do you engage on behalf of the brand or as an individual?
They, in our case, they engage as an individual. I guess they don't necessarily engage as a member of the brand, or they're not necessarily taking over our social media behind the scenes or anything like that. One other tip I thought of based on the previous question is I look at Amazon, their new releases in a certain topic that I'm looking for, and I'll look for books that are either, they're high on that list that haven't come out yet or they've just recently come out, and I look for kind of rising talent, maybe people that haven't hit the big time as far as in the author speaker world, and I'll reach out to them, and you can see their influence grow as their book gets out there, and they're getting more publicity, they're getting more traction with that. We've had several people that we've signed even prior to their new book coming out, and their network is a lot stronger even by the time we did a webcast with them than when we signed them. So kind of looking for those up and coming micro influencers.
Great. That's all the questions we have. Thank you so much, Chris, for the very tactical, lots of takeaways from this presentation. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Brianna. Glad to be a part of it.
So that concludes our virtual summit for today. So I just wanted to say thank you guys all so much for joining us. Just as a last note, I wanted to mention some of the upcoming programs that we have planned, some of our live conferences that you guys might be interested in. And we'll be sending all this information to you guys as well via email after the event's over. But our Social Media Strategy Summit is coming to New York City, October 17th to the 19th. And so it's very much similar to this virtual event where you'll be hearing from brands that come in to talk about how they're tackling issues in social media and how they're improving engagement and really driving those success of those business goals. So we have a lot of really awesome brands lined up, and of course, in-person events. You'll get to network with a lot of like-minded marketing practitioners. We're looking to have around 250 attendees there. So there's a lot of cool companies across industries that you guys will get to meet there. We also have the Brand Strategy Conference coming up in Chicago, October 11th to the 13th. That's a lot around brand experience, strategy, and growth. So it's very targeted for brand marketers and practitioners. And also our Social Media Strategy Summit for higher education that's going to be in Boston, November 2nd to the 3rd. So that's very targeted for universities looking to leverage social media to help drive awareness for their institution, engage faculty, staff, and students. And of course, we have a lot of awesome events coming up in 2018 as well. So we'll be also including an exclusive discount code that you guys can use if you do sign up for our upcoming events this year. And also we got some questions during the event if you guys will have access to these slides after the event. So we'll be grabbing those from Amisha and Chris and make sure to send you guys the link for those slides as well. So thanks again for joining us today, and we hope to either see you at one of our future live events or our next virtual event. So thank you guys. See you next time.